Hey there, just checking to make sure that we have some volume there. If you can hear us over at YouTube, make sure you say hello in the chat, and we'll be ready to roll here in just a minute. The mics are on. We're here. We made it.
I can hear the music. Is it still going?
No, it's all done now.
Oh, that's too funny. Hey, you guys. Welcome. Look who's here. AD is in front. Welcome to our holiday special.
Woohoo.
Oh my gosh. It's so awesome that AD. Oh, look I could hear. I actually could hear it. I wonder what's going on because I could hear the back play in my ear. That's kind of weird.
Oh,
but
all right.
Yeah, so AD's gonna work. Didn't he make a great job? Look at it, snow flying and the holiday stuff. AD, I'm so excited. It's very, very cool. Yeah, so you guys are all here during the holiday special to hang out with AD. Me and AD make this show. So he is here today with me in front of the camera just to have a great holiday time. This is the Macro Chat Live Show where we talk about macro photography, micro photography, and close-up photography. And AD is behind the scenes making everything very cool. You're going to get to know AD a little bit more. You're going to get to know me a little bit more. And I'd like for all of you guys that are actually, look, I've seen Scott's here, Becky's here, Catherine's here. Some of you newbies, come on in and say hello to us. The people that know the show, how about sharing it with your friends, get some more holiday spirit going. And before we dive in with AD and me, let's go ahead and do that promo real fast, AD, and then we'll get it on.
Today's Macro Photography Live Chat Show is brought to you by Adventurers of the F-Stop, a $29 monthly membership to elevate your macro and landscape photography and business skills. Just go to membership.sullivanjphotography.com and check out all the details to push your creations in 2018.
Hey, you guys, sorry, I could hear myself echoing. So when you talk, I'll go back and do it. I don't know what, I wonder what's happening. Yeah, it's weird, but it's okay. I could work with it. But anyways, AD's here. So Ashley also helps. She's another one that does behind the scenes, but she's over at my son's house. So welcome, Andy. Thank you so much for coming. I just want to say cheers to my friend. Happy holidays.
Clink.
I have I decided to go all the way here, and I have eggnog with a teeny little bit of brandy, and I couldn't find my nutmeg, so there's cinnamon. See, you guys?
Very nice.
So, AD, it's all about getting to know you and me, and it's really also just a laid-back show. We've got critiques like normal, that we always have. We have AD is hooking us up with Luminar, and I'm checking out the chat. Did you see Scott is here?
Yeah, totally awesome. I'm working on your problem there, so if I'm
okay,
staring at you guys, just let me know. Let me know if that
He's
fixes.
Still doing his work.
Let me know if that fixes it for you, Janice. Is that better?
Let me see.
No, we lost you all together now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me turn that around because I can't hear you now. That's not any
good. Oh, no. Oh, wow, that is good.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the echo is coming from. Hopefully you can make it through the show. It's not echoing on my end.
Maybe it's me. You know what? It's not probably AD because you know what? I always screw up everything. I think what's going on is I have it here on YouTube.
Yep.
That's what it is. Oh my gosh. Janice has to screw up at least one time out of the show where Edie's like, what the hell?
One thing working with you, Janice, is that what is great is that I'm very aware of everything that I'm doing in the studio because, man, I go down the checklist like 6 or 7 times a show while things are going on. I'm like, what's going on? What did I do? Did I fix something? Did I break something? And then Janice is like, oh, I left that on. It's my phone's running in the background or something. I don't know. So it's all good. It works. It's live,
Well, I'm glad that you're on it. I mean, that's why I needed your help because can you imagine I was doing this before on my own and then it was good. Oh my gosh.
But this is a lot of fun and I have a lot of fun doing it. So that's the other part of it is that I get to watch a cool show every week and meet all these awesome people and see awesome photos and enjoy that too and learn because I still learn. And Scott's out there. Scott was in the Arcanum with us. You were in the Arcanum. And you guys all know that our number one rule was always that never stop learning. And so everybody should, I think the hardest thing is like, as we get older, like when we're born, we're like a sponge that's very soft and smushy, and we accept like everything into us, and it all comes in, and it's great. And as we get older, the sponge becomes less and less resilient to and doesn't take in as much, and it's a lot more difficult. And so, the thing that my mom always used to tell me was never grow up, and from that I derived the whole that one of the things that I did when I was young was learned a lot of things. And so my whole life has just been make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, be okay with making mistakes, and continue to learn. And if I stop learning something, then I will move away from it. So the day I stop learning photography, I will move on to something else probably.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm not finding that like it was, I spent 30 years in music and it wasn't that I wasn't learning anymore. It was because it wasn't fulfilling that creativeness. I was working, learning other people's music, but I wasn't creating my own. And so with photography, I always have the option to create my own work. So while I can work for other people, I can also work for myself and always create something. So, and that's, you know, I think all of us creatives will say first off, you have to admit that you have a problem, you know, that it's a drug. Creation is a drug. Creating things is a drug. And it's one of those, you have to do it or you get, you know, anxiety. Or also, I know for me, it's if I'm not creating or building something or working on something, then I'm just a mess. I'm sure Danielle would agree with that. So, so I'm excited. Tonight we're going to preview Luminar and the brand new library function in Luminar, or the digital asset management DAM. I have the worst version of it possible on the PC. So if it looks good on this demonstration, you can be guaranteed it'll look great on your setup. So yeah, we're going to try to run it later on when we talk about equipment, but we've got other things to talk about, right?
Yeah. No, but that's really cool. And another thing too, I want to talk about Luminar is that one of the things I want to talk to everybody that's here is that, you know, like I think I said in the last show, just because it's showing like landscape and HDR and all this stuff, whatever, you can use it for macro photography. I actually have 2 images.
And we're gonna...
did you do stuff? Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we're good. In fact, I made it it's all about that tonight. So while you'll see 1 or 2 images that are landscape and things, what I really want to tell people about is how it does work for other things and how it's revitalized my creativity to try different things other than just my landscape photography. So, and I've got a lot of examples to show. And
awesome. So, I'm so excited. That'll be so much fun. So yeah, I want to do, you know, you were talking about creativity and I want to feed off of that. So, I met AD in the Arcanum. And so just to let you guys know that some of you guys don't know all my background, but basically I went to college, did photography, started my business, and I really didn't connect with any photographers for years. It was connecting on LinkedIn, and I really was into interior design and stuff. So I was like totally hooked up into the interior design, the buyers. And I really, like I said, I didn't really talk to photographers. The reason why I knew about Trey, to tell you the truth, is that I liked he had a show at night and he had a bunch of photographers and they were hilarious. So I was just like the comedy and the fun, you know, that was totally me. I think I got drunk
on that show a couple of times.
Yeah, it was like such a great show, but he doesn't have it.
I'm not proud of that, but yeah, I think it happened.
That is so funny. But so then what happened was, you know, I sold my flowers in my deserts, and, you know, after a while you just get like so stagnant. And I was like, I do not want to go back to college. There's just no way. So when Trey said about the Arcanum, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just go for it and see if someone picks me. And guess who picked me? AD. So I'm curious, AD, did you know I followed you before? How did you know about me? Did you scan? I don't know this, everybody. I wanted to poke his brain about this live.
So I had a very original kind of different way of selecting my applicants, and Scott kind of has sat in the passenger seat with me a few times, and I've sat in the passenger seat with him as well as we reviewed applicants for the Arcanum. And I think the number one thing that I looked for was if they were humble. So in their application, if they were humble, if there was a hint that they felt that they could learn something, and that they weren't in the Arcanum to be like, well, I do this and I do this and I do this, and I'm really looking forward to finding out how to get like, so that I sell my photos better or something. I mean, that's great, and we'll get to that, but the Arcanum really was about let's find out why you have this problem to begin with. Like, why did you get to a roadblock? So I wasn't really focused on so much. I think the thing that I liked about the Arcanum was that I was able to not focus so much on photography, which I was still learning myself. Honestly, I'm still learning to this day.
Yeah, I do too.
I was trying to teach people more about why they end up facing a roadblock and what are some easy ways to challenge that and either ignore it or get over it or get around it, rather than just saying to people like, well, Janice comes to me and says, I don't know how to use this function in Lightroom. And I just, or, and you never did that. You were more about absorbing the lessons and, and kind of seeing what you could learn from those lessons. Those were the students that I was really looking for. Like, I was looking for people who were self-motivated and were like, wow, this person's willing to work with me. Like,
yeah.
I would have loved it if in my early years, Trey Radcliffe came to me and said, hey, I want to look at your photos when you finish them and let's talk about them. What? Like, I never had a photographer approach me to do that. Most photographers that I had around me were they didn't associate, like, they didn't want to show anybody anything. They didn't want to talk about stuff. They, you could intern maybe for them, but they wouldn't teach you anything. It was more like you're just going to work for them. So it was a great concept. I miss it horribly. I've tried to do a little bit of that with my Patreon, but it's one of those things that, it takes a special kind of person to come in and be self-motivating, because we weren't about direct motivation. That wasn't really what we were doing. We weren't like, oh, well, I'm in a rut. I just don't take photos. I don't know. And I'm like, well, I'll give you an assignment, go out and do it. And then they'd come back and be like, oh, well, I didn't get time, or I'm not going to be able to get to this week. And I'm like, so you shouldn't be here right now. You should be off doing what you need to do. And when you can create that space, then come back. And people really couldn't handle that. And so in the application process, that's what I would look for. I would look for people that I thought were willing to set aside other things, which is difficult for anybody to do in life, and find time. But I also wasn't going to pressure people, but I did want to see, like, when they had time, I wanted to see them front and center, instead of like, oh, you've got time, and oh, I had to call you and get you to do something. Like, as soon as you had time, you should have come and want to do it. And when I was a kid learning guitar, and when I grew up later and I started to teach guitar to people, one of the things that I would always tell them was, you will succeed if your parents have to tell you to stop playing your guitar, to eat and sleep. If you feel that you don't need to eat or sleep and that's all you want to do, you'll be fine at this. And and that really was, I'd opened with that right when they came in for lessons, and it was kind of cool because a lot of the kids would be like, wow, this is what, all right. And then they would just latch on and go. And, I would know within a week or so whether or not somebody wasn't going to go forward with it. So the Arcanum was just like that. And
it's great. I miss it too. I really do.
Yeah. I think it's important, if you're out there and you want to succeed, if you really love photography, and it's a hard question to ask yourself about anything. Love's not an easy thing, right? And it goes, I think, like, creativity and photography go beyond that, even into the point of obsession. And you really have to kind of be that way. I mean, you ask Scott, who's out there, if he's obsessed with photography or not.
Well, I think every single person that's live right now is obsessed. All these people are obsessed. AD, I went in, I ended up having the membership program, and that's really cool because there's a motivation, there's people, right. But I don't bug them. The only problem with the membership program, and it's a problem for people that want one-on-one with me, because that's the Arcanum has one-on-one with me, where I sit there and critique their stuff for an hour only, and I really have one-on-one. The membership is basically the same thing, but it's in a group environment. But also I have live workshops to motivate people, because what I've learned from you, the Arcanum, and other people that are out there and what they want. To be stagnant the way I felt is horrible. Right. And all of us, and these people here, maybe somebody else that's going to watch a show in the replay or later on, if you shoot and you're like, holy crap, man, it's already 4 hours? I felt like 10 minutes.
Right.
that's the people, that just want to push it and stuff. But
yeah, time flies when you're having fun, right? And
it's so true, so
yeah.
true. So
and
true.
that's the thing. I actually used to like the group aspect of the Arcanum. I didn't like the one-on-one stuff as much. The way I was in the Arcanum, if you had a problem and you needed to come to me, you could come to me and we'd talk one-on-one. But I really liked it when we would critique the images with an audience or with other people, because those people, they would all learn from that. And I do this show on JPEG to RAW every Sunday night. Jan, who's out there with you, and she comes over there as well. And she's also one of my Patreons. So the thing I like is that people come to that every week, and even though they may not submit images, which I encourage them to do, and Jan is doing that now. What's wonderful is that you learn from looking at other people's images. You learn like what their vision was.
Yes.
And the more we can open up and talk about why we take our images and how we take them, the more other people learn from that. I just think that that's just a great way to be in photography. And I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for like the closed-minded photographers that surrounded me when I first got started. I just couldn't get help from anybody. And,
it's totally different now. Do you see all the people that we get on this show now?
Yeah. Yep.
Hello, I got Jackie Kramer coming on January.
Ooh, I love Jackie.
Oh my gosh, she's so sweet. And I have a whole other line of people that I need to talk to you with, because I need to make sure that AD's with me when we have the guests, because oh my gosh, trying to juggle that is just crazy. But I just hooked up another guy. He travels all over the world. Oh my God, he's got workshops. This is a teaser, everyone. It's called a teaser. That's in February. But I'm so excited. Okay, so it's 5:20. I watched the clock. So Becky says she's definitely obsessed. It's a perfect time for us to go into the critique time.
Woo! Holy cow.
Becky,
we did it.
Yeah, it worked. I'm drinking water at the same time. How funny is that?
By the way, Janice, I'm going to tell you, you have not shared your screen with me.
Oh, crap. Okay. Look at, here we go. Let me
whenever
do that
you
right
feel
now.
that you'd love to do that, that'd be great. So I can get that, make sure it's going to work. Janice's camera might freak out a little bit when she does this, so just don't panic. Everybody will be all right.
Yeah, we're going to share. Everyone's going to see.
Catch on fire or anything, I promise. So.
All right, I'm sharing the right screen. And that area, I think, is in Southern California. That's not my image, everyone. That's off the Mac.
Oh, they can't see that. They
can't see it yet?
Nope. We're holding.
Right,
we're waiting. We're in a holding pattern till you get ready.
Okay, let me go ahead and we'll get the first image. First, wait, before I even start this, AD, let's just say thank you to Becky for sending I took all of her Christmas images, because, today's Christmas, today's holiday. It's about, having a great time. Becky sent a whole bunch of Christmas stuff, and we're going to talk about it. Woo-hoo. This is what makes the whole show, truthfully, so we can really get into some fun Christmas stuff. So let me get Lightroom up, and I won't be able to chat with you. Oh yeah, I could chat with you guys. Okay, so one of the things that I do, so go ahead and switch the screen while I get the paperwork ready. So here's Becky's first image, and I'd love to hear the behind the story with images. So I'm going to do my best not to butcher your information, Becky, like I always do. You know what happens is I get super excited about reading this stuff. So I'm just going to read it and then not, because I always break and start talking my own little, because what you write, Becky, is really, really cool. And I always get excited. So as she says, I had the best time coming up with creative macro Christmas ideas. She's sending me 3 images, but I took 4. Let's see. I had this figurine for years, but never photographed it. I envisioned a winter wonderland scene with a Santa figurine, which is the prominent feature, but just never was satisfied with the result. I finally came up with this one with just the lights and a couple of pine cones on black plexiglass. I gave up trying to keep the plexiglass clean because of the glitter that kept falling off the figurine. If more of the plexiglass showed, I would have spent more time in post-processing cleaning it up, but decided against it while editing the image. She used her Nikon D7100 with the Tokina 100mm macro lens and was mounted on a tripod. The image was made with shutter speed 2 seconds at f20 at ISO 100. I used my setup on the kitchen table with light coming in the window. No other lighting was used except for the Christmas lights, which I found at the dollar store. I like them because they reminded me of the lights when I was a child.
Yes.
The great thing about these lights is that they are powered by batteries, so they are very easy to position. It was post-processed in Lightroom, Photoshop, and Color Effects Pro with a vintage film filter added. I love the nostalgic effect I got with the post-processing, and while Father Christmas is not a perfect image, I love the way it turned out. So that is it is a beautiful shot, isn't it, AD?
Yeah, I like the vintage processing, and I'm going to pass a unbelievably timely bit of advice that I gave Janice a long time ago. When I said to Janice, I said, Janice, you got to try this black plexiglass stuff for doing stuff. And Janice did, and she's been having a blast with it. So I'm just going to say that now you need to try white plexiglass.
Yeah, that would be fun, huh?
Yeah, because then the stuff that fell down there, you probably wouldn't even see it, or it would just look like it was part of the scene, or snow or whatever. But yeah, I really love it. I love that you're experimenting and trying this kind of stuff. My whole my whole talk during my segment is going to be about this exact thing, because I'm a landscape travel guy, but I also shoot pretty much everything. So I love that you're experimenting just with things that you can get that are simple. The lights immediately gave me that nostalgic feel of when I was a kid. In fact, it was funny. For the first time in forever, we used to have huge Christmas in my family. And as time went on and when my mom passed away, my family kind of dispersed, and I haven't even seen half of my family in probably 30 years. And so, but we used to have these big, huge Christmas out in the country with, my uncle and my cousins would go and on Thanksgiving, and they would actually shoot a wild turkey and bring a real turkey back to, and cook it. Yeah. I mean, it was just they had a big barn, and it was a big country. And Janice, you're from this side of the world.
Yeah.
And so
they're big.
I'm used to big, like, Christmases. And so, and I was telling Danielle, we went and got our first Christmas lights. We haven't gotten forever. We did the tree out in front of our house, which looks like a Christmas tree, because all of our neighbors in this neighborhood have beautiful, and they're not gaudy. They're just absolutely spot on designer, beautiful Christmas setups. So we did our little tree out front, which is nothing compared to everyone else's. And, but when I was buying the lights, I bought these LEDs that were the big round looking bulbs, because I told Danielle, I said, this is like the bulbs that we used to have when I was a kid that would like burn your skin off if you got anywhere near them. But they were really beautiful. And so the minute I saw this and I saw those, that really took me back. So she did an excellent job thinking about the items that are in the shot and how that would have an effect on the viewer. And Scott and I and you, we've all talked about this over the years, about thinking about, that telling that story without a narrative, which I think is great. So excellent job there. If I had any suggestions, I have 2 monitors right now, Janice. I'm looking at both of them. On my uncalibrated monitor, it looks like the Santa on a black background. On my calibrated monitor, though, I can see that there's some light spots in the back of the image. And that's one of the things for Christmas. You all should ask for a monitor calibration tool. They're very inexpensive. I think they're $100 or less. I know I have a spider, but I know there's a color monkey out there and a couple other ones that you just set this thing on the front of your monitor, and it will calibrate the monitor so that the whites are correct, the blacks are correct, and all the colors are right the way that they're supposed to be, or as close as they can be for your monitor. So I would ask her if that was something that she could see on her end, because I didn't know if she was going for a full black background.
Well, I think she does have a calibrate. I think she has a monitor. But you know what, Becky? Let us know what calibration mechanism you use.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it might not take the light. I'm curious because the ambient light is because this is the second image that I think I've noticed a little bit of, where you could tell it should be more black. So I have a feeling it might be that. So Becky, whenever you get a chance, let us know what you have. I'm curious.
It's an interesting thing about calibration too, because when I ran a music studio, we calibrated the whole studio to have flat sound response in the studio. And people used to say to me, well, why do you bother like that? Because they're just going to listen to it in speakers in, their living room or whatever. And the thing is that it guaranteed that the music that I produced or the color that I do on my monitor will be as close to perfect on everything rather than just on my monitor. That's why you calibrate. So yeah, I would just look at that because I know that this monitor that I have is 100% sRGB. It's 99.9 Adobe Pro. So I can really see the lights and the darks. On my other monitor, it looks exactly the way I think she probably intended it to look. So just to keep that in mind, because this is why, Becky, it's not because of monitors. It's because of when you print it. Because when you print it, it will come out that way. It will come out the calibrated way when it's printed.
She says she has the spider. So the spider should work. There might be something going on. Do you have sometimes, I don't know about yours, AD, but mine has you calibrate for the daytime, you calibrate for the nighttime.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, I could work, Becky's in my membership program, so I could help. That would be a good thing to work with her about. I have another thing that I want to work with her on. But
I have a spider as well. So I have an old one. I have a Spider Pro 4. It does ambient light. I will tell you, no offense to the folks over at Data Color, but their programs suck. So I would highly suggest looking into a program called Display Cal. It's not the easiest program to work, but it is absolutely the most color accurate profiler that you can get. And there's good tutorials online on how to install it. You have to get a driver for it. You got to get whatever. But it takes and makes my little Spider 4 Pro, it really made it step up quite a bit to where I have 3 different monitors here, and I purposely don't calibrate the one in the center, but the 2 on the outside that are my widescreen monitors, both of those are calibrated with the software from Data Color, and I could never get them to match when I'd look at one on one and look on the other. So I was kind of like, well, which one's right, or are any of them right? And then I got this Display Cal, which is a free program. And once I use that, all of my monitors match perfectly. And so now when I look at one, I bring it over the other and it looks exactly the same. And I'm actually looking at the program feed, and I'm looking at the feed that on my monitor, and I can see that they both look that way. That there's I can kind of see where she colored in around part of the background. So yeah,
gotcha.
I would definitely check out Display Cal, and if you want, Becky, we'll give you some links, and of course you can always reach out to me as well if you need help installing that, or getting it set up, or even how to run it. Once you learn how to run it, it's really easy. It takes about an hour actually to calibrate your monitor. So
wow, that's intense.
Yeah, it does but it does a very nice job of making a profile that's perfect for your monitor.
Oh, so, that's cool. That's very cool. I'm going to go ahead and do the second one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to let one of my dogs out of the room because he's crying.
Okay. All right.
So let me get onto her image, and I will read it, and then you go, AD, while I'm letting Louie out. You you go for it. Let them know. So let's get on to this is a live show, everyone. Okay, let's see. Okay, for the second image. She says, I'm a beader and make bracelets as gifts for family and friends. I also sell some along a small restaurant that one of my sister owns in Trenton, Georgia. So I wanted to showcase one of my Christmas bracelets in an image that shows off the bracelet and also creative as well. That is creative as well. I placed the bracelet on a piece of black plexiglass along with some cedar greenery I picked outside in the front yard. The lights were small battery-powered lights I bought at the dollar store. Of course, my Nikon D7100 with the Tokina 100mm 2.8 macro lens was mounted on a tripod. The plexiglass was sitting on my kitchen table just in front of my black shadow box. The image was made with a shutter speed of 1.6 seconds at f/16 with an ISO of 100. Lighting was accomplished with the Christmas lights and the lighting coming in from the window in my kitchen. I also focus stacked the image so everything would be sharp. It was edited in Lightroom and then was into Photoshop to blend the images. I absolutely love the image. I love the reflection on the plexiglass, and the colors literally shout out Christmas. Of course, Santa's charms help. The Santa charm helps as well. Okay, go for it, AD.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. One of the toughest things that you'll find, and you've already discussed this a little bit, Becky, so I'll go into it a little bit deeper, is the dust problems with taking product photography. And it is an absolute nightmare to clean up and to do. But it is something that when you're doing pictures of products, it is very worth doing. It's a lot of work, but cloning out those dust specks is something you definitely want to address. Other than that, though, you nailed it right on the button, and focus stacked. Beautiful job. I only see a couple of areas, which is noted. Adobe's kind of noted for around the edges. I've noticed when I've used it, and I've had to just crop those areas out just because they blur out a little bit. But overall, it's a strong enough image that I'm not even really drawn to seeing that because Santa's face is really like boom right there. The other thing that's great is the color processing of red. Red is a very difficult color to not overdo. And so it looks like you did a really nice job here of getting that nice and balanced. The other thing I would suggest, and this is just something fun, is see if any of your neighbors have holly bushes, and you can go rob some of their holly, because that's always fun for holiday photos as well. In fact, just about every place that we've lived, except for this new house that we're at now, we've planted a male and female holly bush, so that you only one of the bushes, by the way, the female is the only ones that actually have berries on them. So if you want the berries, you have to get a female, and if you want berries every year, you have to put a female. I don't want to go too far into this, but you have to put a female bush with two male bushes on each side. And don't ask me why, but they won't pollinate every year. But if you get two male bushes and one female bush, you get berries every year. So that's a useless piece of knowledge from my years of...
Oh, no, it's not useless for macro lovers. You can have some fun.
Right. Yeah, and so those are always fun for holiday. But I think this looks like the Christmas tree, and I think you nailed it with this. The biggest problem, and I'll tell you, I've done a lot of product shots, is dust. And I've worked in an environment where, I thought it was dust free. I dusted, and then I vacuumed, and then I came in with a nice clean piece of plexi and cleaned it all off, put all my stuff down there, then meticulously wiped everything off. I can't see any dust. I take the photo and there's 1,000 pieces of dust everywhere. And I'm like, how did they just appear from me taking the photo? But they were there. It's just the photo, you can actually see them. So I would, I don't think you have to do a whole lot of cleanup here, but just a little here and there with the cloning tool, and
yeah,
you'd be right as rain.
Okay, that's perfect that you bring that up. Coco's sitting with me because the other dog. Can you guys see Coco? She's got her little look. I'm telling you, we're all Christmased out.
No, still looking at Becky's photos.
Oh, okay. We're gonna show everybody afterwards because I didn't know if I was in it. Yeah. So what I want to do is I'm going to share underneath this video how to clean out the dust spots and stuff. It's not dust spots. Well, it is glitter. It's the white spots. So what happened? So Kim
hard.
in Kim in the Arcanum had this was something that she had shared because Kim likes to photograph underwater.
Yep.
And so I'm telling you, this video is my go-to video for macro photographers. And I put the link down below, but of course I didn't. It's something about getting rid of scatter. It's like white little specks in the water.
Yep.
So this man, which I will write down his name and I will share his YouTube. He deserves it. Yeah. So I want to share with you guys. Okay. So let me see. Let me find. I quickly cleaned this up, but I did also do a little bit different. But let me show. Okay, so here's the sketch. You can see I kind of messed with your, Becky, I was messing with your image. I love to play with you guys' stuff. So, but look, you could see here's all the scatter, guys. And by quickly using this tip, and there's steps to do it. So that's why I don't really want to go through all of it. At another show, I could do it live here when it's just me, but just with me and Andy, we're hanging out. So we got him to do the equipment, so we got to rush through this. But let me just show here. So look, see this kind of get up. Okay, we'll go one to one. Okay, so see how that's gone? Oh, look at this. Here's the before, and it's so fast. You just do these steps. And it doesn't get rid of because she's stacked and everything, and she didn't want to, mess up the stack.
Yep.
So
this would be something you do at the end after you were all done. Yep.
Yes, after you're all done. So it was so cool. So I just wanted to share that. So that was perfect, that you mentioned that.
Kim shared that video actually during one of her critiques that we talked about that, and she went out and found that video and then shared it with everybody else in the group. Another, thing in the Arcanum that was amazing. So we'll make sure that we get that link out there and pass it along because it is a good video about how to just get rid of the junk. And it's a great first pass. The larger things that you need to get rid of and clone out, you can just do that by hand. But this is a first pass that does an amazing job of cleaning most of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it's just like a macro lover's dream, even though that's what's so interesting is like you don't always think that you have to just look at macro stuff. There's other things out there that will help you, which we're going to talk about when we get in the equipment in a second. But let's go ahead and do these other two really quick and then dive in, AD. So let me read her other one. I like them both. So we'll just do this one first. It's the same concept. That's why I brought them in. So there's two different images, but we'll just talk about it. So she says finally for the third, which was the first set of images I did, the image was made using a crystal vase with Christmas lights inside and behind the vase. The patterns cut into the crystal the pattern cut into the crystal reflected the lights in fabulous patterns and created an abstract effect. I got the idea from a YouTube video on macro photography tutorial called Stunning Abstract Photos Using Crystal Glass. I really liked his channel, and he has a number of tutorials related to macro photography, and I get a lot of ideas watching his videos. Anyway, the image was made using my Nikon D7100 with Tokino 100mm 2.8 macro lens mounted on her tripod. It was made with the shutter speed of 1/50th of a second at 5.6 and an ISO of 100. She also stacked the image to get it as sharp as possible. I was stunned by the effects, and the image reminds me of stained glass. The only lighting accomplished was using the Christmas lights inside behind the vase. It was processed, of course, in Lightroom and Photoshop to blend the images. Thanks for the challenge to create some Christmas macro images. It has really helped to get my creative juices flowing again. Thanks. I hope you and your family enjoy this special time of year. Thank you so much, Becky. And yes, this is great. And I'm also going to I found that the video to this, and I'm going to put the link down below because I think this is something really fun to play with for us macro photographers. So go for it, AD, and then I'll give you mine.
I thought this is a great image. I thought this is actually like an ornament. I wouldn't have known. And so here's a big thing about abstract, which is very important. If it's identifiable, and there's going to be one person in 1,000 who's going to figure it out, but generally there's no such thing as kind of abstract, right? That's what we want to be careful with. And I think she did a wonderful job of, this is, mind bending enough that you don't know exactly what it is, but it does have that holiday kind of feeling because of the colors and the mixtures to it. If I had only one thing to offer, it would be, in Janice, you probably 1,000 miles away saw it coming. But I'm along with, there's no such thing as being close to abstract or kind of abstract. You want to be very careful with symmetry, because symmetry can affect the mood of the image in a subliminal way. And we don't fully understand it, but when an image is tilted or not symmetrical, it gives us a feeling of sorts. And so like an image like this, you want to be very particular about making sure that it's very symmetrical, very, because you don't want that tilt or anything playing into this beautiful image that you've created. So that would be the only thing that I would say, would be to maybe work a little bit with the perspective correction tool and and a little bit with the cropping tool, just to make sure it's dead on perfect, right in the center. And then you're going to have it's kind of I can see that, the glass is actually kind of a little, parallelogram there in the middle, and you could fix that with the upright tool quite easily. And then,
I would just play with it too. I would get rid of the ends
use
a little bit.
Use the grid tool. Yeah, you'd want to use the grid tool in Lightroom, and just make sure that it's not tilted or turned or anything, because it's a beautiful image, and you don't want any of that. So just let me just
this is just a crop. It's not.
Sure.
I haven't done any perspective yet.
Absolutely. But let me just ask. I mean, Becky, do you see like right there? To me, the image just popped all of a sudden when Janice did that. And now I don't have those objects in the corner pulling my eyes out. I'm really like focused on what looks like a candle in the middle, which I really enjoy. To me, by taking those rounded edges off there, now I'm really drawn into the image more, and it has a more powerful feel to me. And that's why I always tell people to make sure that, you play around with the cropping tool and take a few days to look at an image. Don't just try to do it all in one sitting. It's a proven fact that we have what's known as eye fatigue after about 2 hours of processing. Some people less than that, which means that we see colors differently. There are a few tests that you can take out there to find out what that length is, but it's a known fact we see the color red differently the more we look at it. And so it happens that way when we're creating images too. So I always tell people, do some edits, go on to the next thing, come back and look at it tomorrow and see what you think about those edits. Do some more edits, give it a day. I hate to see people like editing on their phone and then just posting it to social media. I'm like, take some time for your art. Take some time.
Yeah. My body gets hurt. I'm like getting up because my body's like, oh my God, you've been sitting on this chair way too long. That's probably good that you're getting, when you get older, you're just like, I gotta get off the chair.
This is a beautiful image though. And those are those are just creative ideas for down the road. They're absolutely not a criticism of this particular image. I think all of these images are spot on for the holidays.
I'm telling you, Becky has come a long, long way.
Oh, I've been watching the show from this side, so yeah, I see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's like she's rocking it, man. Yep. Okay, let's do real quick with this one. It's also the same type. I'm assuming it's the same type of thing. I wanted to say something really quick. When it comes to see how there's you know, this is something that it would have to be wiped down. But because we're going to go in to Luminar, I want to just bring up before you dive in that Luminar has a really good, where did I put it? It's the, oh my gosh, it's the blur thing. I use it all the time. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Look at, see, now I was ready for, I wrote down my notes, but I use it. The Orton effect. Orton.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Orton
Orton.
effect.
Yep.
So let me just share real quick. This is the Orton. Okay, that's all it is in Luminar. So here's it, and you would have to dodge and burn, and not dodge and burn, but you know, mask and stuff. But I love the Orton effect. Now it's really, I mean, that's all I did here. I didn't do very much. So, you know, that's something that AD will talk about real quick. But you know what? If you have any quick, real fast, because it's 5:48.
Yep.
So on our side. So if you have anything that you would like to say real quick, because I really do want to get in and see what happens with Luminar.
So symmetry again, just the hardest part of framing in the camera and doing all that. Sometimes you have to do it in post. It's not symmetrical on both sides, and this is a very symmetrical design and look. So that's something that I would, that's something you may have to practice with, you know, and try to do different things. The thing that got me with this image that was really cool is that I didn't know what it was. I like couldn't determine whether it was a snowflake and it was a super macro of a crystal, of an ice crystal, because of those striations that are in there. I couldn't really tell what this was, and I kind of liked that about it.
Yeah,
I thought this was a natural thing. Like I thought this was a picture of an ice crystal that was, you know, because you see like the stuff that Don Com does, and and they look just like this, and so a great abstract that it's one of those things where I could not identify exactly what was going on here, and that sense of wonderment with the colors and everything means it's a great image. So yeah, excellent job.
Yeah, I think this is great. Everybody, you should play with crystal. Look at that video down below. Becky sent us some really cool stuff to visualize. So, I mean, this is great. Thank you so much for sending the images, and let's go ahead and get on to equipment. Let's see if it crashes, AD.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to press the big button. Boom. All right. It didn't crash. It's back to your screen, but I can go to my screen. Look at that. Okay. All right. And poor Janice has got to look at this. I hope you can blow it up, Janice, so you can see it.
I can't.
Okay. This is Luminar. And it probably doesn't look like the Luminar that you're used to seeing. This is Luminar 3. And I wanted to share, because, you know, a lot of times we'll share hardware, like gear that you take out in the field with you. But, you know, 50% of that equation, or however you want to divvy it up, but part of that equation is always the software part of it, right? What you've got to run to post-process. This is basically our dark room. So I love playing with all different tools. I work with companies like On1 and Topaz and Skylum, which is this company here, or it used to be MacFun with Luminar, and Photomatics, and just anybody who will work with me. I'm like, sure, man, I'll try your software. Let's see what let's see what it can do. I'll play with it. And I seriously, every time I get it, try to break it, because I'm like, this, I gotta, you know, I kind of owe them something back. To if I can break their software, they're going to know about it before they release it or whatever. So, but this is the new Luminar. It was just released, I think, yesterday, and this is Luminar with libraries. So I wanted to show you guys this brand new thought process that Luminar has. They are gunning for the Lightroom folks, the Photoshop folks, but this is a very early product. Even though it's released right now, it has got some issues. I won't lie to anybody at all. And Skylum will be perfectly honest about this with you guys too. They want to get it out into your hands because it runs, it works. There might be some issues with it. They're not life-threatening, you know. I'm really tired of seeing people who treat software like it's life-threatening these days. Just relax a little bit. You'll be a lot happier. It's one of those things. Anybody who buys something new that's cutting edge like this is, you should not put it into a production environment and rely on it. I'm more apt to yell at Adobe for a product that's been out for 20 years when they put it out to the public and it's not ready to go because they replace the old product with the new product and it doesn't work. To me, that's, they didn't do this with Luminar. They released Luminar 3. It does not erase Luminar 2018. If you have Luminar 2018, you get this for free. If you just go to your Skyloom account online and you log in, you'll see there's a new entry in there for Luminar 3. You can download it. You'll have a key for it. You own it. If you don't own it, it's $69 right now, but you can use my code if you want to explore when you buy it, and you get $10 off, so you get it for $59. It includes future updates, so you're going to get updates to this. I think you get Luminar 2018 as well, so you'll have something that's fully working. I'm showing this on the PC tonight, by the way, guys, and I did this on purpose because I have the Mac version as well, but I really wanted to show the PC version because this is the one that's more raw. The Mac version works great. It's perfect. If you got a Mac, go get this. Don't even think twice about it. It's perfect. It runs perfectly. The PC version is rough around the edges, and I'm always one for like, let's just show it the way it is. So let's get into libraries, and I'll just show you what's new because this isn't like what it was before. So I'm just going to come up here and go to a library, or am I in an edit right now? I think I might be in an edit. I'm in an edit. Let me get out of an edit. Okay, there we go. So this is libraries. And
pretty. Is that a butterfly real quick? Or is that a moth? Because half the time it looks like a butterfly to me.
No, this is a butterfly. So
good.
One of the things I want to talk about with everybody tonight as we're looking at some of the photos that I'll be showing is that you guys probably know me from being a landscape travel photographer, if you know anything about me at all, which it's okay if you don't, because not a lot of people do. So this is loading in just a raw shot of, this is what I take photos of most of the time. Not just, this is my backyard, but not most of the time, but I do landscape photography. That's kind of what I do. So I do travel. But what I wanted to show you guys tonight was what happens when I get in a rut. I turn to something different. So I turn to basically doing stuff like product photography or flowers or macro or all sorts of stuff that help my brain figure something out and get my mind off things that I'm stuck on, which always helps me when I go back to the other project of getting beyond those roadblocks. Every time it works, every time. When I was a musician, I played rock music and I played country music. When I would get into a rut, I would listen to classical music or rap or something that was out of my genre completely. Yeah. And I would have a different perspective when I came back. And that is so important to photography. So this is like one of the projects that I worked on. I do want to remind everybody, this is loading, by the way. You saw it kind of filter in as it was going. This is loading off my network drive right now. So just keep in mind, this library is my photos that are on my, that are coming off there. So this is just, I wanted to show a progression of how this works. So just like in Lightroom and everything else, you have the ability to star things. You can heart them. You can change their colors to set flags on them. You can reject them, all sorts of stuff. There's shortcut keys and everything on here. All of the edits that you do are remembered, but not destructive now in Luminar, which is before, remember, you'd load in a Luminar photo and then you'd make an edit and you had to save it. It's this weird Luminar photo like you would in Photoshop if you wanted to keep layers. You save it as a PS file. Well, you'd have to do that with Luminar as well. You'd have to save it as a LUMR file, which was, nobody does that. I mean, and it's just weird. And so now when you make an edit change, so if I was to edit this by double clicking on it, bringing it to the main screen, if I was to make an edit to this, and I'm just going to be really quick, and because this is the wrong color balance and stuff, I'm just going to turn it black and white. Now I can just go to another photo. That edit's remained. It remains there. I don't need to do anything. It remembers all the adjustments that I made, everything. I don't have to do anything at all. If I double click on it, it goes back to the big library mode, and I can move on to something else. But what I wanted to show here, if you notice, there's a lot of photos of the same thing. These aren't edits. Yeah. This is photos that I took. I was like, well, I'm going to set this up and take a picture of these flowers. And the very first picture I took was like, nope, that ain't going to work, because you saw my white balance and everything was off. Then I said, all right, let's get the white balance set better. So I took this photo, and then I'm like, oh, now my exposure's not right. That's a little blown out. So I went the other way with it. Now you can see that, well, my exposure's wrong the other way. Finally, after a lot of playing, I started to get my lights and my exposure dialed in. But I kept all of these photos because it was important for me to look at the progression and say, yeah, when you started this project, you didn't know what you were doing. And I didn't. And this is from 2012 when I was shooting this. I think I might have actually shot this for the Arcanum as a demonstration as well, because I think I shared this. This was called Daylilies at Night. That's the project that I was trying to do with this. And I shot many photos of these daylilies until I wasn't happy with the way it looked that way. So then I started to get closer. And when I got closer to the flower, I realized that these flowers started to glow. They had a glow to them. The center of the flower would have this look to it. And as I would get the light in certain directions, I could make that glow really pop out. So ultimately, I ended up with a photo that I liked, which was this one, which was basically had that glow. It was nice and close up. But I did a whole series. I got out the water bottle. I started spraying the flowers so that I could try that out, try different things with that. I started doing like super close-up macros.
Oh, wow. Check that out. See, I love that. That's really cool.
As close as I could get to see the pollen and everything.
Yeah,
You know, as close as I look at the little cells that you could see.
Yes.
That you normally, almost looks like a tongue when I'm looking.
I know, it does, huh? I love it.
But I could see that glow, but I couldn't get my camera close enough to find out why does that glow like that? But it was where I put my lights. So I just wanted to show that, like, this is the process that you go through practicing and playing with things. I mean, I left shots in here not in focus. I wanted to see what it would look like if I shot a shallow depth of field and you couldn't see the jar in the background. And then
then you would know your f-stop. You're like, okay, wait, I need to change the f-stop. That's so perfect. It's good that you're sharing this. This is great.
And so I got to this, and I was, after I looked at these, and I shot at all different f-stops so that I could see what it was doing. And it was just like, I really want the glass to be in focus. So I started working on that, getting a little bit better. Now I could starting to see the image that I wanted to see come forward. And and here's, I think this was the final image here, where I wanted it just to be like very dark, but the flower was, still had that color to it. And you can see in here, my processing kind of like wasn't great because the reds are blown out. I mean, it's a very difficult color to deal with.
Yeah, it is.
And so all of these new features in Luminar now, to be able to make these edits, then you can go to your library and add folders just by clicking on a plus and loading up a folder and loading that in. But I just basically I wanted to show you guys kind of my process for practicing. And
that's good.
Being a travel photographer, I still love to play with this stuff. So yeah, let me where I have one here somewhere that I was doing something on, and I wanted to.
What does that? It says frost? Is that frost from you?
Yeah. So this was experiments with frost. I went outside when it was like 20 degrees after a nice warm day. And I did all of these shots. Now, some of these look blurry because it's not loaded the entire file in yet. This is just like a preview.
Yep.
But I ended up going through and finding, again, not all these photos are keepers. Like almost, I would say maybe one or two of them are. But the interesting thing about it is it was fun to play with and practice with and see things that I didn't see before. And one of the things I saw with this image, I think it was this image, is that when you get 1-to-1 on this,
look at that.
The crystals are actually tubes.
That is so cool, AD. I love that.
And
my gosh.
And I didn't realize they were tubes, when I first started looking at them.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about macro, man. You can really see it. That's awesome.
So I just ended up taking a lot of pictures of these weird leaves, and just trying different things. But it was, out of my, this isn't what I do. I'm used to taking pictures of buildings and abandoned places and beautiful waterfalls that are sometimes almost easy to photograph, and I'm not downing that around any landscape photographers out there, but taking photos of tiny things where limited space and light is very hard to deal with can be quite challenging and really good for the soul when you're doing normally taking pictures of, like I said, waterfalls and things like that. I did experiments with playing around with Christmas.
Yay!
Right. So here's just me trying out different bokeh to see, which one I wanted to make a Christmas card.
Oh, look at that with the bokeh. That is so cool.
So just that had a Christmassy look to it, but it wasn't, you couldn't actually see that. This was just, I was at a Christmas party playing with my camera and just trying different things, and I think I ended up processing this so it was just maybe the tree. And then in the middle of it, because we have a big family and they like to talk a lot and there's always like a lot of confusing talk going on, I stepped outside for a little bit to get some air, and I realized it was a perfectly clear night. And this is their barn out in back of their house. So I set up my camera and I went back into the house and I just let it shoot until the battery ran out. And then way down here at the bottom, I put all of that together somewhere into this image.
Very cool.
Which was a big, and I called it Christmas Stars, and I printed the photo and gave it back to them as a picture of their barn with the stars turning around, and the northern star it turned out was right over the house. I mean, the northern star was right in the upper part of the image. But this is very old. This was from 2012, so I'm
I love that.
Didn't really know what I was doing back then, but I tried hard.
It looks great. No, you know what? It's very personal. That's really cool.
Yeah, the new features are really nice. Some of these are full, like my 2018 stuff is full 42 megapixel shots. So these are very very big shots. And like here's just a practice session of going out and playing with a lens for a company. And I ended up releasing, I think I released this image. So this was the Lens Baby Velvia.
Oh, yeah. Is that how you say it? I always screw it up.
Yeah, very fun lens that doesn't seem like it's taking clear pictures, but then when you look closely at stuff, whoops, let me double click on that. I want to single click. I know,
it's because you got.
You can actually see that it is in focus, but it's got this nice glowy effect to it, and that's what Janice, what we were talking about earlier. This is an f8 shot, and you can see how it's making this cool like bokeh thing. I wanted to pull in that Orton effect really quick and show.
Because that's a great tool, especially for macro photographers. If you got a lot of stuff going on, I really like. I did it on both of Becky's images, and I really like the Orton. Yeah, look how pretty that is.
So you can see here how it softens the image and just makes this kind of ethereal. And I think that that's a really nice effect for, a soft, like an image like this where you want it to be a little soft. All the tools are here. Clone it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that you do have in Luminar, everyone, you do have, because see how it blackens, it gets inky black. There's also masks that you can go in and mask some of the effect out right in Luminar. So that's kind of nice too.
Yeah. So the nice thing about it is it has a smart mask feature. So if I want Orton only in a certain area or in certain areas, if I just click on the little brush here, I can call that up and I'm going to get a little masking brush. Now I can choose to either mask it in or mask it out. And it all depends on what I select to do first. So if I say I want to erase first, it will leave the whole masking task and only erase where I want to. So it's quite a time saver. If I wanted to break it out of this dark area, see how that makes that kind of a little bit more detailed? The Orton effect kind of takes some of the detail out of that. So if I just want to go around and take some of that out, I can really now get into painting my photos, right? Really getting into painting things up and kind of doing what the masters did in the dark room. And then when I'm done with that, if it's still not light enough, there's also a really nice dodge and burn tool in here built in, which I think is really cool. And we can just call up, let's see, If you can't find something quickly, this is the other thing. Right there's dodge and burn. But if I just come up here and I type DOD, dodge and burn, if you know how to spell it, you can find it real quick, which is great.
That's a good tip, because who wants to wait?
Right.
Who wants to
so
dig?
if I do start painting and I have it on lighten, I can actually lighten these areas. You can dodge and burn those. You can change the size of your brush. One of the things that's missing right now is the bracket change for the brush size, which I can't wait till they get that fixed in here. But you can see how I can bring out some of that detail back in there, kind of make it so it isn't so splotchy, right? So it doesn't like, draw my eye right to that spot. And it's pretty nice. I mean, look at that detail I could bring back just right there, so that it isn't these dark spots so many places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it works really, really nice. I like it.
And if I have something that's too bright, even on the same one, without actually changing, I just go to darken. And now I can actually go through and I can darken some areas if I want to. And yeah, I would probably use a larger brush for this and just tap it. I like to use a lot of times, instead of like painting, like swiping, I actually like to just put my brush down and tap it a couple of times. So put it on darken and just like that. See how that makes it like a much less, doesn't look like I dragged my my brush over that area so much.
Just like click, click. Yeah.
Yep. So it's got a lot of great filters. I think there's 45 or 48 different filters that you can, that this is all of them, but that you get through here. There's great stuff like golden hour, where you can actually turn up the sun a little bit. While turning down the saturation. So you can actually get like a very sun-kissed kind of look. If you want a sun, there's a sun. You can put in a sun if you want to. You know, this is kind of going a little over the top. Sometimes I use this to enhance rays that are already there, but you can see how...
Yeah, look at how pretty that is. That's awesome. You know, I've used that before. It's awesome.
You can put a sun in there, and you can kind of dial it down a little bit so it's not so, you know, prominent if you just wanted to have some sort of sun in the background. But yeah, it's full of a lot of great features. Probably one of the best features that I like in it is that it has a tool up here called the Details Enhancer. And the thing I really like about this is that it's sharpening, but not sharpening at the same time. This will bring out the details in the photo and make it sharper by use of masks and contrast, but not sharpen it to where you have noise. So now I can make that very sharp. Look how the difference watch the grass in the middle. Look at the difference in how that grass just suddenly just gets very sharp. And there's no noise associated with this at all.
Ooh, see, that's the best part.
Right. So for macro photographers and people that are doing close-up work, let me show you what I did. Now, see, I can just leave that edit now, which is the greatest thing. I don't have to save that or anything. It's automatically saved. Let me just go back to I just want to go back to the butterflies real quick, and we're going to wrap it up. But I'll show you just a thing that I did with this butterfly that we were looking at the beginning.
Okay.
All right. So this guy right here.
Yeah.
So what I did with him is you don't usually often want to sharpen the whole image. You just want to make your subject a little sharper. So what I did is I actually used the Details Enhancer, and I masked off just the part, and it's running a little slow now because I am really jumping around all over the place on it.
It's like slow dance.
I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So we're going to load in the Details Enhancer, and I'm just going to put details where I want them. And the way we do that is we'll crank up the details so that they're really bold. Now you see how it did it to the whole image? Look at it.
Yes.
See the difference there? All right. But I don't like that because I don't like the...
Yeah, it's all sharpened by those leaves up there at the top left.
So if it's going to let me mask, which it doesn't seem to want to let me mask anymore. It's just a live show, folks.
Jamie's here. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie. How's it going, buddy? So anyways, usually you can click on the masking tool. I'm not
Jan's
sure.
here too. Hi, Jan.
I'm not sure why it's not letting me.
Because it's live.
Well, okay, so let me do it on that one. Huh, doesn't want to let me mask. That must be something that just broke just now. Just while I was playing with it. Let me try it with something else really quick. Okay, we'll do it with that one. All right, so we're just going to play with the dehaze then. So I don't want to dehaze the whole image. I just like to do this over the actual butterfly itself. So here we go. We can go into that and close up on the butterfly. And then I can just basically, you notice how the screen changed the minute I touched it? Because I'm painting this in now. And
so everything else popped. Huh?
Yeah, so it's
got rid of it. That's cool.
It starts out smart, right? That it lets me know. But what's cool about this is after I put in the mask, and I can look at the mask while I'm doing it actually, which is nice.
Yeah, that's what I like too.
Yep. So you can kind of draw that all in. And you can kind of be, a little sloppy with it because it's smart. It knows what's going on. Once I have that in there and I select OK, let's go back out to the view out here. Full view. Now I can adjust this and it'll only adjust right there.
Yeah, perfect.
Isn't that great? So
yeah, I love it.
A really easy mask tool. It also has the other masks that they'll incorporate here, and they do have them actually in this now, is radial, which is a big round mask that you can make into a circle like a vignette. Gradient mask where you can draw different gradients on the screen, and then
I like that
awesome
luminosity.
And awesome is the luminosity mask, which will basically mask only areas in different levels based on the brightness of that level. So as it creates the luminosity mask, it's very hard to it'll be very hard to see it down here because it'll be very small. I don't know if they've incorporated the mask view yet or not. Let's just let it create it here if it will, and then we'll see what it looks like. So there you can see how.
Oh, you could kind of see it. Yeah.
And let me see here.
Catherine told me once she had the show on her TV. So put this on your TV, guys. You can really see.
Right. So you can see now how that changes completely. It's only affecting kind of more of the upper part of the image, but other effects will work better. Like sharpening works great with a luminosity mask because it really masks the sharpening only in the areas where you really want to see it. So anyways, I wanted to give you guys a view of the new Luminar. Like I said, worst case scenario on the PC right now, it's a little rough. It does work. It doesn't crash. I haven't had it crash on me yet.
Yeah, that's
the worst thing that's happened has been that details enhancer. The big thing is that it's slow. They have not optimized it yet. That's something that takes a while on a PC because they have so many hardware specifications that they have to kind of have to do. But they will be doing that, and the program will come alive as they work on it even more. It's just something.
It's pretty fast for our S Max.
Yeah, it's on the Mac. Over here on the Mac, when I was playing with it today, it worked just like Luminar 2018 and 2018. So it's one of those things where. When they first come out with the PC software, people don't understand Mac development is pretty much a guided highway with a lot of development tools and strict hardware requirements as they build. With a PC, all of our PCs are different. Everybody has a different PC who has a PC. I built my own. So how are they going to know what equipment I have?
Yeah, true.
So it's a little harder to develop, for them.
But I'm glad that they're doing that, though. I'm glad that they're going that route. That's really cool.
And I can attest, Luminar 2018, when it came out last year, was very slow and sluggish, and then by the middle of the year, it was right up there with the Mac, and now you can't tell. I can work on both systems and not tell which one is faster or slower than the other. So that'll happen with this as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. That's cool. Yeah, I just put an iris image out into the social media, and I love the bicolor toning. It's a bicolor toning.
Yep.
And so I did a close-up of an iris, and that was totally Luminar.
Yeah, so, I don't know about you, Janice, but for me, I just find that the program allows me to be creative rather than makes me think about how do I do this function? Or I don't have to stop and do that. I just grab a slider and start moving it, and that's all there is to it. I don't have to think, do I have to marquee this, or do I have to go and... I don't have to do any of that stuff with Luminar. So
yeah, no, I think it's great. And that's one of the things that it was good that you said in the beginning, that you were saying, look, it's a tool, and it's not really like you're going to... when people say, it's so much better that it's not as good as Adobe, or it's not as good as Topaz. That's not what I look at these software programs for. I look to see how can I play with it? How can I change and manipulate or tell my story better or faster, or, because, I really like what you said, and it's true. That's why I say this is also for macro photography, close up and micro, because there's
Absolutely.
different tools in there.
Right.
My dog is playing with the Christmas presents.
My biggest thing with software is that if software gets in the way of my creativity, it cancels my muse. When I get enthused about doing something, I want to be able to do it. I don't want to have to wait for something. I don't want to have to try to figure something out. I don't want to have to struggle with getting the photo up in front of me and zooming into it. It's a very intuitive program for people who create things. And so it does not get in the way of my creativity. My whole Patreon and everything is based around how to get technology out of your creativity. Like, we have to use technology every day, but we don't want it to interfere with our flow. Like, we want to be able to get in there and create, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I discovered that through music. I had a difficult time.
I'm going to get Coco. Go ahead.
I had a difficult time writing music when I would have to figure out how to get my music recorder to go, or I had to figure out what settings to do to get it to record. I just wanted to press a button and record and get my ideas out of my head, because by the time I had to think about all that, my ideas were like gone.
Yes, exactly. So, you want to just be able to do it. It's so true.
Yep.
Very, very true. So, guys, thank you so much, AD. Thank you so much for sharing that. It really is so much fun to have you in the front. That is so cool. So again, you guys, we are on every other week, and usually AD's behind the scenes making this all beautiful. Look what he did, such a good job. I'm just so happy to have you and all of you guys that are chatting up over there. So I just want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you, AD, and the rest of you guys that are out here in the web, or whatever you want to call it, because we're going to be in 2019. I can't believe it. I know, huh? I know, isn't it? It's going by so fast. So I want you guys mark your calendars. What we're going to do, the next show will be January 3rd. And that will be with just little me. But again, Jackie Kramer will be coming in, but she will be here January 31st. So
live from Australia, right?
Yes. No, she's actually in, Jackie's over in the East Coast right now.
Oh, okay.
Her son lives in the East Coast.
Oh.
So I'm not sure where right now her and I talked on the phone. She's just the greatest person. You guys will totally dig her. She's just so much fun. So unless she's back over, no, I think she's over in the East Coast right now.
Oh, good.
But I'll make sure. Cool. Yeah. So then let's see. I also, and if you guys like this, please give us a thumbs up, because AD and I do have a blast, but it would be awesome for a thumbs up. And all you after people that are not here, the replayers, if you have questions or anything, jot them down below. If you have a question for AD, I will get it to him for sure. And if you have a question for me, I check all of the comments.
Yep.
And I would love to get to know you guys better for sure. And so we'll be here in 2 weeks, you guys. This is a macro photography show. Well, it's macro, close up, and micro photography. And as I always say, that 1,000 words does make a difference, everyone. So happy holidays and happy New Year. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Baby. We're back. Are you guys here? Are you guys here? We're back. We're back. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you guys, okay. I forgot. AD, remind me. We have a giveaway. Oh my gosh. So if you guys are gone, I will make sure that I message okay. So I am giving an Amazon $25 gift certificate to somebody. AD and I talked about it. Yep. And AD is giving giving a free Lightroom 48 presets for free to this person. So all of you guys are awesome, and you might even be gone. But surprise, we have a giveaway, and we are going to give it to Becky.
Woo!
So, yay! Becky, congratulations. And that's our present. All of you guys are awesome, but we just wanted to, she did all the Christmas stuff. She's here almost every single time. I think she's only missed one show. She's real close to Catherine. And so we just wanted to say thank you. And, you know, it's the end of the year, and AD and I wanted to do this special thing for, you know, our people that hang out with us. So now, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye, guys, for real.
Bye, for real.